Out of Heroes Hearth, this is Kyle Fergusson. Today I'm sitting down with MasonBlaze's Nazeebo. Welcome to you, MasonBlaze.
Hello, hello.
This is a last pick Nazeebo on Tomb of the Spider Queen, Game 4, Wildheart versus Granite Gaming. So, Nazeebo, a well-beloved character. Seen a lot in the middle leagues. What led to a Nazeebo pick here overall?
So the main reason why my team decided Nazeebo is very heavily because of the map. Tomb of the Spider Queen is a map that typically goes super late game, as well as the way that the map is laid out. It's very easy to get to that 175 stack mark for the massive level 20 power spike.
Okay, so you're doing an old school double soak, which got outclassed by all of our bruisers. So is there something on the enemy side you noted that would allow you to double soak, or are you just not really worried about gems?
So the way that my team decides to play the map right now, I will pretty much almost always be double soaking with someone to make sure I'm not, just dead if anyone ganks me. So as we can see here, Zergling, our Blaze is following me around.
Okay, so that's the big difference we're seeing here, is that Nazeebo doesn't have to step up to actually collect the gems on Tomb of the Spider Queen, because, yeah, here he comes. Here comes Blaze around looking at those gems he might be creating, but they're called to the bottom in this massive fight that happens. This is where us watching from home during the actual cast, we didn't see you for probably the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, this is something that actually happens quite often when I play Nazeebo on this map, where, like, in my mind right now, I'm super happy because I get a free soak like this. I get free structure damage, insane XP soak. There's no universe I'm coming down to this bot fight, because as a Nazeebo, you are playing for that late game power spike, and this is a dream come true. Because, yeah, as you can see here, I get free rain and nothing to threaten me at all.
So you're getting to step up. So in that way, the original plan with Blaze being by you doesn't matter, because you're actually able to step up and collect those gems now.
Yeah, exactly. My team pulled everyone bottom, so I have free reign to do whatever I want.
So is the majority of draft mistakes for Nazeebo then just not accounting for being able to walk past the halfway point?
I mean, it depends, right? Because I would say the more standard way to play this map is to have, like, let's say my Joe and my Anduin, like, also helping me double soak. It's just the way that my team opted into play. And my team pulling the enemy team and forcing their resources on the other side of the map allows me to more safely step up and get gems and stack.
In that previous moment, you cast a zombie wall in the lane. Why'd you do that?
So I usually cast, with the build that I'm going, this is more prominent at level 7 when I get Dead Rush, but my goal is to make sure I get my poison on all the minions and to clear the wave as fast as possible so I can double soak. And W is a big, especially at level 7, big part of Nazeebo's wave clear, and to get that poison onto all the minions.
Okay, so in case they died when they hit the tower range there, they would all be pre-poisoned, and spiders and auto attacks couldn't get that poison spread out fast enough.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's cool. I mean, I love Dead Rush. It's so relaxing.
Yeah, it's my favorite talent.
This build you do is my favorite to do in quick match, but you're playing in a serious environment, so I doubt it's as relaxing as, kind of my late night spree that I go on. So, level 1 here, you got the Thing of the Deep. Increase the range of Nazeebo's basic abilities by 20%, and then you get a reward for stacking. So you're planning on stacking, you're going for those big stacks. Is the range something you're accounting for too? Something you want?
Yeah, so the way that I really like to play Nazeebo is with that range at level 1 plus Dead Rush. I really like to basically follow up on my team CC with a zombie wall, and having that bonus 20% extra range makes it a lot safer and easier to reliably do that. Like, for me, it's almost like playing, like, going from this game to playing, like, let's say, like, Q or E build Nazeebo. Like, not having a 20 range actually does feel pretty rough, because 20% extra range, like, any mage has that. Like, they're super happy.
So we're watching your camera here. You're not looking at the other lanes, so are you just counting mini-map faces, and that's kind of telling you when you can go past the halfway point, or is the team communicating up to you while you focus on what you're doing?
I'm definitely I usually just stare at the mini-map and, like, keep my character on it. So I'm definitely just staring at my mini-map right now, like, counting heads. Yeah, and if I see Diablo, I'm pretty much safe to do whatever I want.
Okay. Oh, that's a great point. Yeah, because Hogger wouldn't be able to really stick to you, or at least you'd be able to get away from him just walking, but it'd still be enough.
Yeah.
So this engage here on the building, you do not cast Zombie Wall on the building itself. Is that for a certain reason? Are you expecting the dead rush? Are you trying to zone Diablo?
Right there, I was holding my W just in case, let's say, my Blaze hits a stun. I was more just for a follow-up. I didn't really felt the need in the moment to use W to secure the fort, even though I probably should have. I usually like holding my W for that reason if I have something that can set it up for a more kill threat.
Gotcha. So your mind isn't so much in the building, must destroy building specialist Nazeebo. You're more focused in lane clear and following up my team. The buildings will come naturally by just the state of the game.
Yeah, like there, I probably could have afforded to get the fort because we need a little more damage. But yeah, exactly.
That's perfect. So it sounds like basically your Nazeebo play is just to not fall into the passive pitfalls at the moment. Just don't give in to laziness or lose awareness of what's happening on the map.
Yeah, as Nazeebo, you want, as most, I guess, characters in this slot where I just double sucking, you always want to try to be as proactive as possible and always just, stack, be aware of, when you can kill enemy heroes, as well as, basically just managing cooldowns properly.
Now we can really see that dead rush come into play where you're just bombing down the lane with a single rotation of abilities, and you opted for Blood Ritual. If an enemy dies while poisoned by Voodoo Ritual, restore 2% of Nazeebo's maximum health and mana. Takedowns grant 3 stacks of Voodoo Ritual.
Sorry.
I think you were about to say the same thing. This is what allows you to cast so much.
Yeah, exactly. This build, these 1 through 7 talents is probably just the best build for what I'm doing, which is just constantly double soaking and getting stacks. This level 4 talent is one of those talents where it's like at the end of the game, like I question myself, like, wait, did I back or tap the entire game? Because I literally never have to. I don't think this game I back at all. I might have to tap every now and then, but being able to stay in lane the entire game and get those stacks, like you can get to an absurd amount of stacks for not having to waste that time backing to get that mana back.
Yeah, there's certainly that early game where you were out of mana, but then level 4 you hit your well, and you immediately were able to bounce back, and ever since then, you've been basically good to go. So is there another level 4 that you would consider based on the layout of the damage of the game state?
With my current level 1 and 7, if you really want to be like full Chad at level 20, you can go Big Voodoo to increase those bonuses from your stacks. 100% more from the health and mana, so late game you're definitely like a unkillable brute force. I'd say it's more preference again because obviously Blood Ritual is more of like a convenience talent where if I don't have to back, I don't, it's in Nazeebo, I don't want to back if I don't have to.
Yeah.
So Big Voodoo is definitely one that I wouldn't be surprised if I pick up every now and then.
You mentioned earlier that your level 1 here, Thing of the Deep, you tend to miss it, but there are other builds. Just for the current state of meta, is there one that deals more damage? I mean, obviously, these are all very situational, but do you like the Corpse Spiders or the Plague Toads better?
Corpse Spider build is probably the most popular one, and it is by far, I'd say, the most special single target damage. I'm sure like everyone who's played versus Nazeebo knows, like you get hit by a random Nazeebo Q and you're like, wait, I'm dead. I'm half health because how much damage the Q can do. E build is definitely the hardest to stack. You have to hit up to 75 of your toads in order to get it stacked. I have gone that build once before, and it is quite good into melee heavy teams where you can more reliably like hit those big E's and get that armor at level 13, which is actually quite good because you are kind of like just a Chad unkillable late game brute.
I guess that does conflict with your overall goal of Nazeebo, which is to be off soaking a lot of the time. So hitting a bunch of front lines means you're in the 4-man or not soaking in that case.
Yeah, like I will basically like the build I'm going right now is the build that I just envision. Like if you really want to get stacked, the build like you go because of Dead Rush, how powerful it is in improving your wave clear. But one thing I think a common misconception with Nazeebo is that like he's not a hero until 20, and a lot of people say like, oh, we have a Nazeebo, no damage till 20. But
yeah,
Corpse Spider build is pretty ridiculous damage, especially if you're playing on a map, like a bigger map where you can't reliably get those 175 stacks, to where 1 through 19 simply hitting a Q is like off of, let's say, like a Murden stun, like people can die off that. Like it's nothing to joke about, and it's really easy to get that stacks
So
on the core spider.
so it's easy then to kind of break this down and say Nazeebo, God, lucky, or this was a good draft, but it's more that you all played to the state of the current game. You were originally planning to have that Blaze in the soak with you, keeping you safe since you wouldn't be able to step up. However, as Blaze was needed down south and Vala started pumping all this heavy damage that we can see here on screen, you were left more to your own devices and started being able to step up and create more and more pressure, which they weren't able to answer to, and they started getting zoned out.
Yeah, like this, I would say this game in particular is like the perfect Nazeebo game. It obviously is completely like okay if my team and the enemy team plays topside more. But if I'm allowed to, like you can see, I'm at 170 stacks at level 14,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So like I'm done my level 20. One thing you could argue is that sometimes Nazeebo teams shouldn't necessarily be this strong early game. I will say that based off of our draft, our Joe, Andwin, Val, and Blaze 4-man together in the bot lane is actually quite strong. So I guess you could say this game, drafting 4 heroes that are strong early game that can almost, I guess, to an extent carry Nazeebo, especially with my build, since it, I would say, doesn't get that strong until level like 20, like compared to Q build. Essentially just more, it's basically about reliably getting level 20 more consistently, because our comp at level 20 with Nazeebo plus Vala, our 20s are just insta-win.
So here in this situation, you're looking at probably your first big team fight. Is there a certain position you're taking, knowing your level lead and the abilities you have on your kit?
So our goal right here in this team fight, since I just took the boss, is more of keep them in this big pit at the top. So my zombie wall there was to kind of wall them off from escaping, as well as following up off of my Joe's Blessed Shield. I don't have Ravenous here, but if I did have Ravenous, I'd probably step back a little bit from the boss and just rip it in this big corridor. But yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of keep my distance, make sure I'm not a target. And you can see the 20% range allows me to follow up with my Q.
Yeah.
And then that, you know, zombie wall, yeah.
So you cut off the whole team. They were forced to go through the back there, forcing them into the team that was doing the flank. So your zombie wall there actually had a huge impact, as well as, of course, the damage it brings with the uproot and all that sort of fun. So
Yeah,
now,
zombie wall.
Go
Oh,
for
sorry.
it. No, go for it.
I'm saying zombie wall. One thing, if I'm not using it directly off of a CC, I do try to use it off in tight chokes, because like the amount of body blocking it can do, especially after the zombies uproot, is pretty insane.
So now you have this 3-level lead. You're moving in on the buildings. You dropped a zombie wall there. It looked like to basically say, don't come out this door. Now you're trying to control Hogger's movement. So all of these are having a real purpose.
Yeah, like especially into Hogger. Hogger's a good example of this, where if I do go for those rogue zombie walls, like where I try to hit them raw, they can immediately force CDs from it, like especially like a Hogger who can just spin out of it, but it's still forcing cooldowns and trading cooldowns, which is definitely really strong.
Right. In a situation here in the coordinated play where everyone's calling if Hogger has spin or not. I mean, we've heard the comp, so definitely everyone's calling Hogger spins. That would force it out of him because he wants to get out of there as fast as possible, move through the wall, and then the team could make an engage on him where they otherwise couldn't.
Exactly.
So you ended up, you got the zombie wall, the dead rush. You picked up Ravenous Spirit here. And you were soaking. So what's the goal of the Ravenous Spirit?
So a big reason why I like Ravenous Spirit is because sometimes as Nazeebo, if I do end up like somehow whiffing my spells, it is a very strong teamfight presence compared to Gargantuan. The way that I kind of look at Ravenous Spirit is if I can get the full duration off, it's kind of like I'm just summoning a Divine Shield Greymane in the middle of the enemy team that's just wailing on everyone and they can't do anything to stop it.
Ooh, that's a good sell. Well done. I like that. I like that.
But one thing to keep in mind in Ravenous is the reason why I wouldn't necessarily go at some games is because it can be interrupted. So if the enemy team has very reliable interrupts that I know that they can afford to save to interrupt it, I usually won't end up picking it.
Okay, do any of those come to mind? Because here we have an Apocalypse, which could be juggled versus your Ravenous Spirit, wherever it may be.
Yeah, so in this game in particular, the way that I kind of thought about it was if a Diablo is saving his only form, like strong form of initiation to just interrupt my ult, I think that's probably just worth it.
Good trade, yeah.
But one of the worst ones that I probably would never pick Ravenous into is Sunder, because Sunder can very reliably interrupt my ult as well as probably like hit my entire team. So
Sunder being the Hogger ability.
actually, well, I was more referring to Thrall, but
Yeah.
like that was just an example. Yeah, a Shockwave I think is okay if I just don't like especially if I cast it like over a wall again. Like it's okay if a Hogger is solo ranged ulting me. I think to just cancel my ult instead of like killing my entire team.
Okay, so in that case, when you bring up Sundering, it's because it hits the whole team and is having a bunch of value besides just interrupting Nazeebo.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one ult that always comes to mind when I think about canceling Ravenous. That is very consistent as well as can still have a big impact in the fight.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. That's cool to hear the exchange rate on your ultimates for the enemy team. Makes perfect sense with Diablo. And hey, right, if you're taking all that focus off someone like Hogger, then he's not accomplishing the goal of dealing with maybe Vala here, who's actually doing double, or maybe even we're looking at near like the entire enemy team's damage added together.
Yeah.
So here you're all alone. You know, your team got wiped out. You got pretty clear view on them, so you're gonna go take a camp. Is this a pretty standard way you're gonna knock out a camp with the zombies into the target? I mean, it looks effective.
Yeah, I mean it's literally just like huck all my spells at it, and Dead Rush, as you can see, is just insane how much damage that can output, especially in camp.
You got the ice block. You mentioned Guardian Toads can be good if you're actually in the thick of it with the Big Toads build. Is there any reason to go Superstition?
I'd say Superstition is like a quick match talent where you're versus like randomly versus like 3 or 4 mages. I could see a universe where it is good. Let's say if this game the enemy team had Chromie plus Junkrat or some other range mage, because as long as I'm not face tanking like random auto attacks, Superstition is actually like kind of arguably a better version of Cassia's passive, because it literally just gives 40 spell armor passively, which is quite good. But of course, you know, getting autoed once shuts it off. So essentially, you just have to be very wary of your positioning. I wouldn't say Superstition's ever better than Ice Block, but I could see a universe again where like if you're playing versus like randomly like 2 or 3 mages, it could be okay.
And then you picked up Ring of Poison, which looks like it's about to come into play here a bit, but Zombie Wall lasts 1 second longer, and the center is filled with poison that deals a total of damage over 4 seconds.
Yeah, so if I do end up hitting anyone in my center and they don't get out instantly, they're dead, right? So if I positioned my W a little bit better, where I got the Chromie and maybe the Brightwing in it was lights out like instantly. But unfortunately, I missed it a little bit. But you will still see as soon as it cancels, the value of Dead Rush gets.
Okay, so here in this situation, kind of looking at this map in total, you were on your main team's side of approach. You threw your Q and we got 1 E on cooldown. What made you decide to do this flank? Or what enabled you to do this flank might be a better question.
So essentially in this like way we're here, I know that my ult's up soon, and a big reason why I come in this flank is because of my W. I thought that I could like flank and maybe just like insta Chromie, like one shot her. So essentially in this spot right now, I kind of banked on my W, like, you know, hitting Chromie, but unfortunately I missed a little bit. But you'll see if you play it, how I line up my E, I get into a safe spot and I just rip my R.
Yeah.
And then they're just dead. So you can see like how much value the Dead Rush got there in my R, just triple kill.
Brutal. So that was more based on the situation, not so much on like being on cooldown on certain abilities. You were watching your heroic though. Nice shot.
Yeah, that was just a shot in the dark there that got it, but it's kind of a waste of time. Yeah, but yeah, in the big reason why I went for a flank, like I said, was because of my W, just simply blocking off that choke and like, you know, pressuring their squishies. Because if I block off, especially Chromie's retreat path there, she's dead no matter what, because she has to like walk into my team onto the point because I'm flanking. So that in that little choker there, that's like prime like flank for Nazeebo because of that tight choke for my zombie wall.
So with this build, is that always going to be the pick, going with the zombie wall upgrade for the poison, or do you have other abilities at 16 that might come into play?
The one I can't remember what it's called, but I can't. Oh, I can see actually. The Soul Harvest is always going to be good. I'd say the one where you can activate on like minions or anything to increase your maximum spell power and health is always going to be good. 35% more health, especially with how high Nazeebo's health can get, is super super strong. I'm just more of a fan of Ring of Poison because like I said, I really like falling up off my team and like popping a zombie while full blessed shield, and then Ring of Poison damage can really ramp up quickly, and then they're just dead.
Any need for Spider Colony? Reduce the cooldown of abilities, basic abilities. That would mean more walls.
I've never tried it, but I do like Spider Calling a lot when I do go just the standard key build. I like I said, I haven't tried it with W build, but I could see a world where that is good because again, more walls obviously is always going to be good and more ease. But yeah, Spider Calling could be okay.
And then you mentioned from the beginning we're going for those stacks. So is there ever a situation where you might pick another level 20?
Yeah, absolutely. So Annihilating Spirit, the upgraded version of my ult, is actually arguably better even if you're stacked some games because of that healing reduction. If you're into a comp where let's say the enemy team has like a Brightwing or a Rhaegar or something that is keeping like where nothing can die because of their really powerful burst healings, again, if I just because with the increased range, I can just rip that from so far away, and the damage scales up over time. The amount of damage this thing can do with reduced healing, like it's insane. Annihilating Spirit is definitely, arguably, like I said, better if you are into those healers, as well as Bad Medicine is okay. I wouldn't say Bad Medicine is that good. It's okay. Losing stacks kind of sucks. But if you do find yourself a constant target, it can be like that's second button that you can click next to ice blocks where you don't just die. Let's say if you're getting dove a lot.
I like that. Have the plan of Vile Infection, but something may develop over the course of the game that we would want to deviate from that. Even so, your base stacks are giving you a lot of power in addition to that regen that keeps you going through the whole game. This was an excellent rundown of Nazeebo. Would you recommend this build for a brand new player, or would you start with something like Spider Colony to kind of get the aiming down?
I would say that key build is definitely, I would say, like the build that I would recommend for most Nazeebos because it is so strong before level 20, where you won't, I guess, because some players might feel like pretty weak with this build, especially level 1 through 19. And as well as obviously key build is very easy to play, and getting used to landing your Qs reliably is always going to be good.
Excellent. Well, thank you for the rundown on Nazeebo, a hero I love, certainly one of the favorites of a lot of people out there. Everybody watching, be sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell here at Heroes Hearth for more Learn to Play Heroes of the Storm action, and of course, the ongoing CCL Season 4.